on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 330 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about X-Statix presents Dead Girl. This is a 5-issue miniseries written by Peter Milligan with art by Mike Allred and Nick Dragotta. I want to talk about the art real quick. Nick Dragotta, you may remember, he is the artist on East of West. He also did a miniseries with Joe Casey called Vengeance, and his art is very good. I really love his art. In this book, I cannot tell where Mike Allred begins and where Nick Dragotta begins, because all of this looks like Mike Allred to me. He was the guy who drew all of X-Statix and X-Force with Peter Milligan back when that series was going on, and this all looks like Mike Allred. I cannot see anything here where I'm saying, yeah, that kind of looks a little bit like Nick Dragotta's artwork. I love Nick Dragotta's art, but none of this really looks like what he did. So I'm not sure if Dragotta is inking Allred or if he is changing his style to more closely resemble Allred's. But either way, kudos, because I really love Allred's art style. I also love Dragotta's art style, but if he is changing it to look like Allred's, that's very impressive. Now, that might not be something that he would want to do if he was working on his own thing, but we've seen that he doesn't do that. Whenever he does books like Vengeance or East of West, he is doing his own thing, but here, it's very impressive if he is trying to make his art look a little bit more like Allred's. So I really like the art here. If you are more of a fan of Nick Dragotta than you are Mike Allred, you might be a little disappointed if you see Dragotta's name on this book and then you don't get to see a lot of his style in this book. But I like Allred's art quite a bit, so that didn't bother me here. Now the story. The story here is that you have a group of characters who are dead. You've got Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, the Golden Age superhero Miss America, Tyke Alakar from X-Statix, and then a character who calls himself the Pitiful One. And they are all dead, and they are all trying to come back to life. And Doctor Strange is trying to prevent that from happening because that will upset the Order, and they are also causing problems on Earth in their attempts to come back to life. And so Doctor Strange rounds up a posse of dead characters to stop these other guys from coming back to life. He gets Ant-Man, Scott Lang, Dead Girl, also from X-Statix, as well as Mr. Sensitive and You-Go Girl from X-Statix, and then the Phantom Raider, or the Phantom Rider, who is a cowboy who, let me see here, there he is, yeah, the cowboy who's wearing white. He was also at one time called Ghost Rider, and then also a guy who calls himself Piano Man or Piano Boy. So anyway, they are all trying to stop these other guys from coming back to life and causing a lot of problems in doing so. And this book is fascinating. I would recommend this book to just about anyone. It is amazing to me that this book is able to balance the humor and the drama so perfectly. This book deals with a lot of really heavy stuff. Doctor Strange is battling depression at the beginning of this book. You've also got Tyke Alakar, who has these flashbacks of dealing with a lot of racist stuff from when he was a kid, and it's stuff that is not funny at all, but then it also throws in a lot of stuff that is hilarious, and sometimes it even mixes the two. You've got Doctor Strange dealing with depression, and it's very serious. It's something that I shouldn't be laughing at, but then it also handles it in a funny way, and I should have expected that because the X-Statix X-Force series, it was very funny a lot of times. It was kind of a satirical book, but it also had real characters who felt very real. They had real human problems, and it dealt with a lot of real stuff a lot of times. It also had really silly stuff. For example, there was a French superhero who called himself Surrender Monkey, and they had to fight him at one time. So let's not pretend like this series was all 100% serious, but this was a really excellent example of balancing the drama and the humor. I really love how you've got hilarious stuff here like Piano Boy, who is able to reincarnate back in the real world before these actual superheroes like the Phantom Rider or Ant-Man. That was hilarious. Also, Doctor Strange finds out that the Ancient One cast a spell on some guy because he broke wind in an elevator and left him with the stink for 12 floors, and he cast a spell on this guy to give him hemorrhoids. That is hilarious. I feel like I was laughing at almost every page in this book. There is some hilarious stuff here. Now, if you like your Marvel characters to be super serious and you don't like to see silly stuff, almost farcical stuff in the Marvel Universe, then you might want to stay away from this, because you got Doctor Strange, who also is battling hemorrhoids. Is there a coincidence? Who knows? But he's talking about that periodically. He's in kind kind of a relationship with Dead Girl in this book, which is interesting. It's not something that I ever would have thought about seeing in the Marvel Universe, but it kind of works here. I kind of like it because Doctor Strange is not a guy who has a consistent girlfriend. Clea is the closest thing, and she hasn't been in a comic book, I feel like, in 15 years, so it doesn't bother me too much that he's kind of toying with a relationship with Dead Girl. But you might not like this book if you like Doctor Strange to be taken super seriously, because this does kind of take a lot of the Doctor Strange tropes and kind of tilts them on their head a little bit. Doctor Strange is really just as much of a main character here as Dead Girl, maybe more so, because once you get Dead Girl into the team up with Doctor Strange, you bring a whole bunch of other characters into the story, and I feel like it kind of loses focus a little bit because you've got a lot of these other characters from X-Statix here, and it almost feels like it stops being a Dead Girl story. I think this would have worked better if it was just Doctor Strange and Dead Girl going on this adventure, if they didn't also have Mr. Sensitive and You Go Girl thrown in, and Ant-Man and the Phantom Rider and Piano Boy, although I really love that joke where Piano Boy reincarnates and then Ant-Man is saying, "Why did he reincarnate and I didn't? I'm Ant-Man. Why did he go?" I thought that was really hilarious. I also like that this kind of attempts to give an explanation for why some superheroes and supervillains will die and then come back to life. I really like their explanation here. It also, upon looking at some other stuff from the Marvel Universe that came out after this, maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For example, in one portion of Heaven, we get to see Gwen Stacy, Moira McTaggart, and what's her name, Mockingbird. They are part of a book club with Dead Girl, and Mockingbird, as far as I know, was later retconned to have never been dead. I think after Secret Invasion we found out that she didn't actually die. I could be wildly off the mark with that. I wasn't actually reading Secret Invasion or anything with Mockingbird, but I seem to recall hearing that she wasn't dead and that that was all part of a Skrull plan of some kind. So if that's the case, then that kind of puts this book into a little bit of a weird spot, but that doesn't bother me. I don't mind seeing contradictions like that because Peter Milligan was not writing Secret Invasion, so Brian Michael Bendis, who was writing that, probably never read this book, so he would have no reason to know about Mockingbird being in heaven here. That's just one of those things that every once in a while you deal with whenever you have characters who die, and then later it's like, oh, they didn't actually die. But I really like how this book handles that and talks about how characters are able to come back to life. This is really good. I really like this book. I wasn't sure what to expect here. I thought this was just going to be a farcical book with absolutely not a serious bone in its body, but it does take itself kind of seriously at times, and I was surprised by that, and I was impressed by how it takes itself seriously. I like this book. It made me laugh whenever it was supposed to make me laugh, and then it made me kind of seriously ponder things whenever it wanted me to seriously ponder things. So I would highly recommend this book to anyone. If you're a fan of the X-Statix series that ended a year or two before this, definitely check this out. Even if you've never read X-Statix, it's been a long time since I've read any X-Statix, and I thought that this worked great. I didn't really feel myself needing to go back and reread X-Statix. There were a couple characters here that I had kind of forgotten about, and this kind of gave me a refresher course on some of them, but I don't think that you have to read X-Force or X-Statix by Milligan and Allred to enjoy this. If you're a Doctor Strange fan, that's a little iffy. I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan, and I like this book quite a bit. Now, I kind of want to see other writers tackle Doctor Strange having depression and battling depression and try and handle it maybe in an even more serious way than what this book did, because that's something that I would like to see explored a little bit more with the character. So I really like this book. I hope that you guys will check it out, see if you can find a copy and read it. In the meantime, I will see you guys tomorrow with a different review. I hope that you guys like this one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.